Good morning, Sales Academy listeners, followers, podcasters, YouTubers, LinkedIners, Tweeters, Facebookers, Instagram Reelers. Not really ventured TikTok yet. I know it's on the list. It's on the list. Morning, and thank you for joining Sales Academy and myself, Adam Brooks, for today's musing. Slightly different one, actually. It's more about life as well as business. Today's topic I want to discuss with you is, I love you, but I don't love the person you're choosing to be right now. So this is a kind of a topic that covers all aspects of life, right? So parenting, being a business owner, developing teams, friendships, relationships, the whole lot. And, you know, tough love is part of love. So all love is useful. And interestingly, talking with not just men that struggle with this stuff, but talking generally with human beings, adults, right? Shit, there's no manual for this adulting stuff. And there are days when we just want to hide away in our pillow kind of fort, as they call it, in crayon, you know, and just draw shit. But I love you. I don't love who you're choosing to be right now. It is a conversation that came up recently with the kids, because some of the behaviors our children choose at times are not good, right? Because they're human beings, they're kids, they're testing the boundaries, they're learning and growing, they're experiential, you know, they're constantly developing. You go right back to babies, everything goes in the mouth to learn before they can speak and everything else, right? So it's a constant learning, developing thing, but it's not uncommon for children to choose a behavior or choose to do something which isn't very nice, isn't very pleasant. Could be as simple as being judgmental. It could be that they're choosing to be spiteful to a sibling or whatever it might be. It could be that they're choosing to be not very kind to themselves or other people. Or, you know, how many teenagers have said to their parents, "I hate you," you know? So, and this is something that was instilled in me. My mum said to me when I was a kid, you know, whether you do right or wrong, she said, "You're not, as far as I'm concerned, you're guilty until proven innocent, not innocent until proven guilty. Just because you're a child of mine doesn't mean I will look at everything you do that you're my angel and stuff. So if someone comes knocking on the door, woe betide, you know, but at the same time, I'm not just going to look at you and go, well, he's my son, he would never do that." She said, "So I'm going to hold you to account and investigate and do it," you know. She said, "And if you're guilty," she said, "you will be held to account," you know. But know this, under all, even when you make bad choices and you make bad decisions and you do things that we don't agree with, or we do, it doesn't mean I love you any less. I may be disappointed. I may not respect and appreciate. I may be angry, you know, I may be frustrated with the choices that you've made, but it doesn't mean that I love you any less. And that's one of the lessons I've kind of taken on and taken forward as a parent myself, but also as a friend and like I say, as a coach and facilitator of people for many, many years. But I'm going to take it a bit deeper as well, because it's also about me. There are times when I haven't loved the behaviors I've chosen. I've been ashamed of some of the choices I've made. I felt guilty, ashamed, angry, frustrated, of all of those human emotions, right? But I've at times in my life, I've constantly chosen to do things, but not necessarily recognize the damage it's been doing to potentially others or me. And so I would have got to a point at that stage where I wasn't loving myself as much as I should be, you know, and I wasn't looking after myself and caring for myself. And therefore I wasn't loving my actions and decisions and stuff. And therefore I wasn't caring so much about the outcomes and the cause and effect of it either, you know? So I was loving myself a little bit less, but I certainly wasn't loving the choices I was making and who I was becoming. So I can say that from a point of view of personal growth, personal reflection, personal overcoming of those challenges, personal changes, personal journey, whatever you want to call it. So when as a parent now, and I'm having conversations with my children recently, and this came up in a conversation, I was like, listen, I love you and I will always love you. I am not loving the choices you are making right now. And that separation between the two, and understanding that our choices don't define who we are. If we keep doing the same things, we keep repeating, we will go in that path, that kind of that journey, that travel, that trajectory for a period of time until we come out of it. So those bad habits get formed and stuff, just as good habits can get formed, right? But they're choosing to behave in this way. So a classic example of this is like when children do things, they know they're wrong, and they know they wouldn't be tolerated. They know that it's out of order. They know it's impacting or hurtful or whatever it might be, yet they're still choosing to do it. Now, from a psychological point of view, understanding and being patient enough to kind of drill down and understand where that's coming from and why they might be doing it is more of a challenge at times, but it's absolutely more of a purpose and a value to really understand what's lying beneath, what's driving those behaviors. It just takes time and patience, right? And to care enough. But yeah, some of the conversation that was happening was like, children would do things and then they'll say sorry. So in this conversation with the children that happened, and it was like, so why do people do things? Why do people do bad things? Let's look at this. Like, why do people do bad things? And they're like, well, there was all these other reasons. And yeah, because this, that, and the other, and they've had a bad upbringing, or they haven't known this, and blah, blah, blah. Fundamentally, it breaks down to people do bad things because they think they can get away with it. I go, it's not that simple, lad. And like, no, I'm not saying it's simple. That's a biggie, right? Dig into that. People do things and do bad things and make bad decisions because they think they can get away with it. Now that comes down to tiny little things like cutting corners, making mistakes and not caring, and being late for a meeting, whatever it might be, right the way through to bloody murder. Do you think somebody would commit a murder if they thought they were going to spend 25 years in jail? No. They don't think about it at that time, right? They're thinking about, they figured out that they can do it and get away with it, whatever you want to. So when people say sorry, what are they sorry for? The act that they did, the decision they made, the choice that they took, or are they sorry for getting caught? Not without getting political. Look at all the nonsense going on with the government and the politics and all that nonsense. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what flavor you are. I'm not interested in that shit. But in terms of, these are elected leaders who are meant to be the lawmakers, the people that are putting in policies that we all live by, and then they're not sticking by them and all that kind of double standards and everything else. So when these guys apologize and saying sorry, what are they sorry for? The fact they got caught? Or are they truly sorry for the event and their choices and their decisions? So I don't think anyone's exempt from this. So I remember when I was at school, primary school, we were told at the age of 10, you are responsible for your own actions, and seen on the kind of common law, whatever, as being responsible for your actions from the age of 10 upwards. And I'm like, that had an impact on me as a young kid, because I am responsible. Don't want to get me wrong, I can be completely irresponsible at times. It worries me that as an adult, I'm completely left unsupervised for very big parts of the day. Anything could happen. But you know what I mean? It's like that responsibility and that accountability hit me at a very young age. But I've fallen off the path at times, and sometimes for short-term gain, for self-gratification, for whatever reason. Sometimes I just haven't even realized I've done it. So it's that self-awareness to come back to, well, how is this affecting me? How is this affecting others? And it comes back to that whole point of, am I really loving myself? So people I talk to, they challenge, they're not as comfortable about talking about love and loving themselves and loving others. And, should we talk about love in business? Christ, right, with all the PC brigade these days, you probably shouldn't even mention love. But the reality is, it's important. Why? Because a number one value for me is belonging, right? A massive value for me is belonging, because that means I can show up who I am. I can be who I am. I can live without judgment, not be judged, just be, and be accepted and accept others. And then there's that community aspect of it. And there's all these other things that come out of that belonging for me, which is important. So it shows up in my life every day. I show up in my life every day, and I bring this every day because it's important to me, and it has a ripple effect. So yeah, just reflect on that, guys. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, right? I love you. I'm just not loving who you're choosing to be right now. Just think about that. Reflect on your own life, where you are now, where you've been in the past, right? Think about people around you in your circle. Are there people that actually you could probably cut out? Because in the brilliant book, How Full Is Your Bucket? How full is your bucket? It talks about in life we come across and we meet with bucket dippers and bucket fillers. And then there's another theory that I talk about a lot, which is we become an average of the 5 people that we spend the most of our time with. I can't remember who first said it. It might have been Napoleon Hill, but there's a lot to be said for that. So cutting out toxic people, and I've done that in my life, and it's like, you don't necessarily know they're toxic, feel they're toxic at the time. You don't necessarily understand and appreciate the impact that it's having. You don't also understand and appreciate how much you're encouraging that as well and accepting it. And it's like a comfort blanket as well. So it can be quite deep and meaningful. But also at the same time, having gone through this recently with a friend who's cut some toxic people out of their lives, we were sat down having a coffee and I said, have you missed them? And they're like, what do you mean? Because it was quite emotional to cut these people out. Don't get me wrong, it's not always easy. But have you missed them? And they sat there and reflected and sat back and they were like, no. I said, have you missed anything from not having them in your life? Is there any value missing from not having them in your life? Are you missing being topped up in any way, shape, or form from not having them in? And it was like, no. And it got deeper and deeper. And they were like, but the amount of energy that I used to expel, the amount of effort that it used to take, the amount of emotional effect, battering I used to take by having them in my life, that's all gone as well. So just consider it, guys. Happy to know your thoughts, right? I love you. I just don't love who you're choosing to be right now. Where's that shown up in your life? Comment below. Let's have a conversation. And yeah, enjoy your day. Take care.